Hey everybody. Let me just check if this is working, but I mean it should. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hello, welcome to the Asians Under a Typhoon book club. I really need to sneeze. Oh no. Terrific start, honestly. Terrific. Okay. Should work. Yep. I think it works now. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Hi everybody. Oh my gosh, welcome. We are going to be talking about, and of course, it happens to be at the bottom of the stack, but it is The Many Daughters of Afong Moy. I have disappointingly, hold on, maybe I can. Okay, perfect. The Many Daughters of Afong Moy by Jamie Ford, and we will basically be I'll talk about my thoughts of the book beforehand, and then we will dive into basically the questionnaire or book club discussion, reader's guide kind of thing, which I will be linking down below, by the way. Let me do that now. Um, I accidentally added it as a bookmark. Um, um, um. Okay, yeah, perfect. Anyways, we'll get started. Thank you guys all for joining me, by the way. And if you're watching this after and you still have thoughts on The Many Daughters of Afong Moy, feel free to comment that down below. I will be sure to respond to you guys. So, you know, we can always have this discussion going. And I have linked in the description box our Discord, our book club on Goodreads. And I think, yeah. So, if you want to continue talking about The Many Daughters of Afong Moy, feel free to talk about that and join our Discord where we have our, like, a discussion section for this book specifically and all of our previous and future books as well. So, feel free to continue the discussion. Anyways, let's talk. Thank you guys, by the way, so much again for coming. And if you enjoy this live show, I hope you guys do join the book club, because we will be talking about many, many more books to come. So I think also my camera is lagging. Okay. Should be okay. I don't know why it's lagging. I mean, I'm on the same network, which is weird, but I hope everything goes well. Okay. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 3 stars, and I know it's like, did you enjoy it? I did. I gave it 3 stars. I think I feel for one thing, I wish it was longer, believe it or not. I actually do wish that there were just some things that I wanted to dive more into. I'll put it on this side. Um, for example, the epigenetics, and then kind of learning more and kind of how, honestly, by the way, there's going to be spoilers. That's all I'm going to say. So, if you haven't read this book, I suggest reading it before joining or watching this video, this live stream. Yeah, I just found that I wish we were able to see more of the epigenetics and how that ended up affecting Dorothy. Just because we only saw like what happened and how she went into the memories, but I wish, because what happened was it showed her going through all these memories of like Afong Moy, Faye, uh, Lai King, Zoe, but then we never really see the effects. And honestly, I would have loved seeing Annabelle grow up as well, and how she was able to, I don't know, grasp these changes. I don't know how to explain it, but I really do wish that we were able to see just more of her in general. More of Annabelle. I want to see what happens to Louise and and Dorothy. I hope that she broke up with him because they technically weren't married. I would have loved to see why Faye gave Zoe up for adoption, because we do see Zoe. And I want to see kind of just, I don't know. I feel like in general there were just so many things missing from this book, and I felt that. By the way, this book is um 348, 49 pages, excluding acknowledgments and everything. In total, this is 362 pages. So, I would have liked it, and honestly, I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit longer and we got to see more details fleshed out. That is something I would have probably enjoyed reading, to be honest. Not that it was bad or anything. I thought it was really interesting, and I did have fun reading it. It was pretty interesting. I just said the word interesting twice. Um, in the one thing I liked was probably Faye. I would have loved to read more of her, and I feel we didn't get enough of Lai King and Zoe. Those two, I feel like I'm missing someone. I feel like I'm missing someone. There are just so many people. Yeah, so and I would have loved seeing more of Afong, liking Zoe, honestly more of Greta. We all we know is kind of the bad relationship between Dorothy and her mom, Margaret, or she goes by Greta, and I would have loved to see that relationship, and what happened and everything. I mean, we kind of get the like quick summary of like, oh, we had a falling out and it was the worst of it all, and Dorothy ended up, just cutting her mom out of her life, and only really found out that she passed, which was heartbreaking. This book was just really sad, and I feel like it also really hit on the points of like discrimination towards Asians, and I know we see a lot of that in the 1836 point of view of Afong Moy, which obviously was the 1830s. I mean, it was bad in like 1892 with Lai King, Faye, and then Zoe, and then even in present day Dorothy with her relationship with Louise. It was bad, and this hits a lot of points. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. This just hits a lot of points of like racism and how honestly Americans viewed Asians even back in the 1830s, which was terrible. And honestly, I would have loved to see how Afong Moy fought through what happened. I would have loved to see all of these characters grow old and then pass, and then you know, go down the line of like Afong Moy, Lai King, Zoe, and then Faye, and then Zoe, um, Margaret, and everything. Um, Rather than the just sporadic time jumps that um, go through the book. I mean, obviously, there's a design. Is it a design? A structure. I'm completely forgetting this word. Structure, like it was structured to be like this for a reason, and obviously I'm not going to question why Jamie Ford decided to format it this way. But this is like my take. I mean, obviously what's done is done, and I do think this is a good book for you guys to read. Um, that's weird. um, but this is just my thoughts, obviously, and what I would have liked to see. um but yeah, I wanted to see more of these characters. Honestly, seeing more of Annabelle, like I said, of her growing up, because the epilogue is of her, but we don't see we don't see enough. And by the way, there is a discussion, I mean, not discussion, sorry, a family tree, and I would have loved to see more. By the way, Faye and Zoe are supposed to be switched because it's Afong, Lei King, Faye, Zoe, then Margaret, Dorothy, and then Annabelle. So I saw that when there was a question on Goodreads, like, what happened. Um, I would have loved to see more of their point of views. It was just, and honestly, the like I said, the talk about the epigenetics, that would have been so fun to read more about, and how it ended up affecting every single one of them. How what the effects we saw, a little bit of the effects on Dorothy afterward, her throwing up, not feeling well, and everything. But like I said, just a little bit more, Um, let's talk about the things that I liked. I loved the points of Jamie Ford hitting on the racism towards Asians. Um, and just how, like, honestly, throughout the whole book, I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I hate it so much, because it's like I can feel their pain, and it was not fun. Believe it or not, I have been discriminated before, and I can tell that it's just not as bad as what the Moy daughters felt. It's something so much deeper than just, oh, racism. It's so, I don't know how to explain it, but it's much deeper than just a simple racism, if that makes sense. It was bad. Let me just gather my thoughts, because I have a lot of them. Yeah, that was a really good point, and it just made me sad. um, yeah, that was really well written, and honestly, I feel like in general, like for let's, I guess, just talk about um the story itself. Let's not talk about, like, what I would have liked to see with this book. I liked each point of view. I feel we didn't get enough of liking and Zoe's and Faye, so I can't really say much about them, or in general anyone. I know this is primarily of, like, Dorothy and how she goes through the epigenetics, and I thought that was really interesting. And I don't know how to say it. It's always just coming back to, like, you know, me wanting more of their point of views, for me to it just makes me feel better if I know more of what I'm reading. And so not being able to know and understand Afong Moy, like Hang Fei and everyone, it's difficult to really say, but I must say, from what we got with their point of views, it just was so heartbreaking to read. And I just, like, I felt their pain and how much they went through. And I think it was heartbreaking, especially with Afong Moy, and how just the suffering she went through. Like, I loved the way Jamie Ford wrote this, because you could feel the emotions and the pain of each character. And that, to me, was really well written. And that was terrific. And I just, it really, you could feel the emotion, kind of like you read about, like, Afong Moy and the suffering she had, because she had to perform for these people who were obviously very incon- inconsiderate of who she was as a person. She was an alien because she was Chinese, and these people have never seen a Chinese woman ever in their entire lives. So she's used as an object, and through that we kind of see how every one of her descendants suffer through, I don't know what they suffer through exactly, but you could feel the pain just going down the line of each daughter. And it's just like, oh my god, it's that was something definitely well written. And I think he really hit on those points of, suffering, pain and suffering, and multi-generational trauma. And he did that well. He did that really well. Um, this is, by the way, my first ever book by Jamie Ford, so I don't know other books by him. He has written, I think, four other books. three other books, sorry, besides The Many Daughters of Afong Moy, and so I will probably read honestly more of his other works, because this is just like honestly just the beginning, and I think I would love to see how his other books are written because I know he focuses on I think Asian related topics. So I think it'd be really interesting to see, how can I maybe connect his writing throughout the books. And I think that'd be really interesting. But this was terrific. I really enjoyed it. I It was good. It was really good. And yeah, those are my thoughts, by the way. Let me pull up the discussion questions. They're linked, by the way, down in the description box. So if you want to check them out, feel free, of course. Let me pull that up first. Okay, so let me hydrate first. There are a total of there are a total of 10 questions. 12. I saw 12, thought 10, and said 10. It's one of those things. Okay, there are 10, um, 12, I said 10 again, 12 questions. Um, you can also see there are questions that Jamie Ford, it was a conversation with Jamie Ford. So, this link will be linked down below. It's from Simon and Schuster, just the link for The Many Daughters of Afong Moy. So, just go to link, have fun, and all right, we'll start with the first question. This should I? It's fine. This story is told in alternating timelines across many characters. Who did you relate to the most? Was there one story you wish there is more of? Terrific. Obviously, I answered that second question. Was there one story you wish there was more of? I wish there was more of everyone. Afong Moy, Lai King especially, just because I think there were only one or two point of views from her, or maybe three. I think I'd have to revisit how many total chapters. All I know is there simply was not enough. And I think I would have loved to see more of Lai King and Zoe as well, because we only ever really see her after um her I guess her separation, if you will, with Alice, the teacher, I guess, or just she was the teacher, right? I mean, it wasn't even relation. It was just this emotional connection, and I would have loved to see more of them, and just more of her, because I think she's like maybe 16, 17, um, during that. So I would have to see. And okay, I need to pause. I don't know what is happening with my thing. Okay, for some reason, um, there's just some weird lagging. I don't know why. Now there isn't. Sorry about that. But yeah, I would have loved to see more of Light King and what happens, because what when we see her, she is lag. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. I Hello. Come on. Hello. so sorry for the major lag. Oh my god, this is bad. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay, my camera is off, but I promise I'm still here. Let me just give it a few moments. I don't know what's wrong. Hello? Are you working? No, it's not working. Okay, I really apologize. Oh my gosh. Stop. Let me just. Okay, we're using my FaceTime. I don't know why it's so zoomed in, and I apologize. I simply don't understand why it's so. Okay, there you go. Wow, that is so much better. I apologize. We're going back to my FaceTime camera. I was using my phone. Anyway, yeah. Where was I? Yes, question 1, which was, so what we answered was, there one story you wish there was more of? And I think I want to, I don't know. Okay. So, who did I relate most to? We're just going to go to that question because I want everyone. I want more of every daughter, you know what I mean? Excuse me. Who did I relate to the most? It's hard because, to be honest, I feel like we didn't see a lot of people, a lot of the daughters' point of views, but it's really hard. I don't relate to anybody, to be honest, because there's just such a disconnect between the characters, and I think I felt for the characters, and I learned to really enjoy reading their points of views, as heartbreaking as many of them were. I think the only one is maybe Greta. Wait, yeah, Greta, but then only because she was in 2014 and in our current time, versus like Dorothy or Annabelle, who's all the way in 2045, and then Annabelle's point of view is 2086. It's hard to relate to them, and especially because I can't relate to all of these technologies of like the epigenetics and everything. Maybe Annabelle's with her little section with the epilogue, because she loves to read. I think she's going to a convention. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say who I truly related to. Maybe, maybe, maybe Annabelle. Maybe Annabelle. Hard to say. Maybe Annabelle. Mm, maybe Lai King because she's in a pandemic, but obviously we're not in a boat in the 1800s, or is it early 1900s? Um, 1892, so late 1880, 1890, 1800s. Oh my goodness. I can't really relate to Afong Moy or Faye, because Faye, during her time, it's throughout a war, which I don't know which war. I would have to revisit. Um, Afong Moy, just can't relate. So Faye, I can't truly really relate. Yeah, it's so hard to see whether I relate to any of them or not, and I don't think I do, but I did feel emotionally connected to them, and connected in a way that Jamie Ford simply just wrote their characters really well. But like, relate? No, I didn't really relate to anyone. Let's go to question 2. In the opening chapter, Famoy reads from an Edgar Allan Poe poem, but we love with a love that was more than love. How do you think the characters share their capacity of love? Most of the characters seem to be driven by love. How do you think that affects their decisions? How does it affect the final outcome of the book? Hmm. Okay, first off, I think that quote was also repeated to okay, sorry, distracted. I think it was mentioned. Oh, okay, never mind. That was a different quote. I think their capacity to love. Oof, this is difficult. Um, but you could tell they have very familial love. Is that, I would say, like family love, and the powerful love between mother and daughter, and you can see that like even with Dorothy and Greta, they said really harsh words to each other, or I don't know, like Dorothy said a lot of harsh words to her mother Greta, but then you could tell that their love for mother and daughter is just really powerful, and you can see that especially with Dorothy and Annabelle because we get the most of mother and daughter there. And I would say um it's their actions, like maybe they say I love you, maybe they don't. Well, maybe we just don't know, but like their actions towards their daughters and family is just really powerful, and you can kind of see that. And even with Afong Moy's relationship with Yao Han, you can kind of see how just like emotionally heartbreaking it is. Like they have a lot of love for the people they love, and I feel like when something happens, it really breaks them and it really takes a lot out of them. And I think, that's what I think. I think simply they just have a lot of, I don't know, I think love also makes them have a lot of trauma, if you will, because they do these actions for love, for family, for a relationship with their daughters or like future daughters, etc., for their future family. Um so most of the characters seem to be driven by love. How do you think that affects their decisions? I feel like you can see that decision towards Afomoy and Dorothy. Honestly, everyone, even Zoe included, with her love for Alice. I think the I think I think it I don't know. I feel like they hide their relationship and love. f- Um, and that this is difficult. This is difficult. These are really good questions. Usually, I would do better if there were more people with the discussion, but I think driven by love. I mean, I don't think they did anything overly stupid or anything. It wasn't like a rash decision. I think they all, with their love, their actions driven by love, it's to protect. They protect those who they love. And I think we can tell with like, the last question is how does it affect the final outcome of the book? I think you can tell Dorothy's love for Annabelle, for her daughter. She wants to figure out how to stop this trauma from truly impacting Annabelle. And you can see that through action. And I think action is like love drives action for the Moy daughters. And that's the one thing that I found. It's not rash decision. It's simply to protect, if that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, question 3, Dorothy Moore recognizes some characteristics that she shares with her young daughter. How do you think that realization makes her feel? This book is all about how we can share trauma through a family line. Yes. What are some shared traits, positive and negative, that connects you to your family? Oof. So how did the realization make Dorothy feel? I feel like you could see she was scared for Annabelle, and you can tell that she didn't want whatever this trauma was that she went through for her daughter, and that's honestly why she drove to epigenetics in the first place and doing this program. Um but I think I don't know. I feel, to be honest, we didn't see much of the trauma. Oh, well, we did, but at least the trauma that Dorothy went through when she was young, we only really saw just what she said. That was the trauma, and that's why I think I would have liked to see how Dorothy went through each of the daughters, and how she finds the trauma from there. Um, but I think, yeah, she definitely, I don't know, freaked out, panicked as well. But also, you could see that it worried her a lot, especially with, like, she was talking about, like, the arts and crafts that Annabelle did, and how there were so many similarities to um to her and her daughter. Um that really, I don't know, freaked her out, honestly. And so, yeah, I feel like that's why she did epigenetics. And she only, obviously, with mothers, they only want what's best for her children. So in this case, the best for Annabelle. And I think her, what is the word? Her determination to do epigenetics so Annabelle does not have to go through the trauma is, like, really powerful. And I really enjoyed that part. Um, And yeah, we'll go to question 4. The relationship between Louis, or I don't know, I say Louise, and Dorothy is very volatile. Why do you think she stays with him? Uh, yeah, I did not like Louise, and I'm sure other people did not like him. I hated him. I despised him. I feel like stability is probably why Dorothy stayed with him. Even though they had a very toxic relationship, and it's strictly because of Jamie. He was so toxic. I feel like, from the way I gathered him, he only truly cared about himself, which is terrible, and I hate those type of people. Um, yeah, it's just, yeah, I think stability is why she decided to stay with him. If she ended up staying with him during, like, the epilogue, it's Annabelle's point of view. We don't know if she stays with him at the end. But I feel like she made the right decision bringing Annabelle away from him. I feel like even his mother, Louise with an E, they're both very toxic people. And I feel like, to be honest, this book is filled with these women who go through toxic relationships, whether it's love or relationship in the workplace, with, like, Afong Moy and her clearly slave like owners, because she was treated like a slave, to be honest, and only brought in money. I mean, she only earned like $2 for the whole week. Insane, or something along the lines. Um just, yeah, it was terrible. And these relationships, I feel like, I don't know if I would say defined these women, but you can tell that they were bad. These were bad relationships. And I feel like between mother and daughter, which we don't really see between the other lines, except for Dorothy and Annabelle, it's only for the daughter that truly is pure, in a sense they want to protect their children. And yeah, that's how I felt. But yeah, Louise and Jamie. I mean, Louise and Jamie. I'm so sorry. Jamie. No, Louise and Dorothy. Yeah, I don't. I hope she doesn't. I hope she didn't stay with him for the epilogue. I hope that by the time 2086 happened, she wasn't with him and only focused with her relationship on her daughter and everything, and giving Annabelle a good life. So, and I think from the epilogue, we see how Annabelle definitely grew up, and it seems like she had a very good life throughout. So, yeah. Anyway, the theme of let me drink water actually. Hmm. I'm going through the questions I want to answer. Um, it's a little hard. These are really good questions. I don't want to answer all of them, just because I feel I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna skip question 5. We're gonna go to question 6. At one point, Dorothy wonders if art can only be created through pain and trauma. What do you think? Can there be great art created from joy? Yes, I do think great art can be created from joy. Um, and Obviously, art can be fueled by any emotion. It doesn't have to be pain or trauma or joy. It could be sadness. It could be heartbreak or anything. You know what I mean? Or I guess heartbreak is pain. It could be love. Happiness, everything like that. All emotions. I think you can create anything out. You can create art out of any kind of emotion. Um, and through art, I feel like from what we saw or from what I remember with Dorothy and her art, I guess it's trauma. Hard to tell. I think it was, and you can kind of see how that affected her panic when she saw how similar Annabelle was drawing, like when Dorothy was younger. And I think that hopefully the art that Annabelle creates in the future, we can see she's a poet as well, I believe. um you know Hopefully it got better, right? That's the only thing I must say. um yeah, I mean, truly, I really do think that art can be created out of anything, any emotion, so yes, pain and trauma, of course, but also love, joy, all of those. So yeah. We're gonna skip question 7. um Question 8. I guess a lot of the women in this book have very little agency over their lives and bodies. Discuss how that changes for each generation in the story. How would you say that women are treated today? How would you say that women are treated today in the real world? What has changed since the time of Afong in the 1800s? What changes do you see in the future? So, yeah. Especially with Afong Moy, she had so little, if honestly none, no control over her own life and body. She, like I mentioned earlier, was basically a slave to the something with a C. Let me find out. Let me find out. Dorothy, nope. Okay, I don't know. The Hanningtons, they basically owned her. I mean, they treated her like they owned her and she was basically a slave. And especially with her being the only Chinese woman, the first Chinese woman, it's obviously like she's an object. And I feel like you could tell she was pretty much treated like an object. She's used for performances. The Hanningtons used her body for the doctors, and I feel like, I don't know, when she blacked out, I feel like they tortured her. That's what I think. Even if they were just doctors, they were just observing. She was violated numerous times, probably for the whole time she was in the States. And, it's just wrong. And you can tell she was just so much trauma, especially with Afong Moy. Her trauma was so prominent throughout the story. It was there. You felt it when reading it. I felt it when reading it. It was just intense. Um, and then with Lai King, she. What's interesting? Hold on, let me check. What's interesting is that I don't know. Like, is Afong Moy the mother? She would, wouldn't she? But I feel like her Lai King's mother was different. Unless Afong Moy had a son, right? And then Lai King is the daughter of the son. So Lai King is the paternal grandmother. Afong Moy is the paternal grandmother of Lai King, maybe. Yeah, see, so that's why I would have loved to see more of what happened and, who the child was, who Afong Moy gave birth to, all of these different questions. Um, Especially with like Lai King and the dolphin and everything, which was, I feel like, a really powerful moment. But then I also feel like we just didn't get enough of Lai King. We only had the point of view of her and her family, before that she went onto the boat, and then during the boat, and then what happened with the dolphin and everything, and that was it. So I feel like we didn't get a lot of her, unfortunately, and I would have loved that. Um, and then with Faye, I thought her story was really interesting. Oh, and the trauma, liking. Let's go back to liking. The trauma that she felt, especially with Albert, Albie, he goes by, he says, dying and everything, and I guess turning into a dolphin. Yeah, we don't really know what happens, or maybe I just wasn't reading right. So would have loved to see that. And like death, I feel like is so prominent in the story, and you can just tell that it's like there, it is there, and yeah. And then with Faye, especially with like war, I feel like war is just significantly a big trauma inducing thing that I would understand if Zoe honestly felt the trauma. But I think that she had Zoe before she joined the being a nurse, so I don't know. But I guess her time in China, maybe there was trauma. But I would honestly understand just how Faye felt during the war, seeing John, and then even seeing John, the face of her as a younger child. Some people I read on Goodreads thought that the picture was Zoe, but then in the book it mentions that the photo was actually a younger Faye. Um, so there are so many things that I felt like there were just things that I didn't understand that I would have liked to read more of. So, like I said, I've probably repeated this so many times, but I would have liked a lot more with the characters. Um and yeah, just honestly, where was I with this thing? Okay, how would you say that women are treated in the real world? Obviously it's better, but there's so many things that with the treatment of women, especially from men, is bad. Obviously, it's bad. It's really bad. And hopefully in the future there's some good with how women are treated, but I feel like there's always going to be this issue of like, people who believe that men are still so superior, and it's a problem. Obviously, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to like say something that is wrong, you know? So I'm going to leave it at that. I just hopefully there's a better future for women. And at least what has changed since the 1980 for the 1800s, especially with Afong Moy, women are definitely treated better. Especially from the 1800s, there are still definitely, of course, women who are being treated terribly. Um, and I feel like women in like if they were treated like Afong Moy were treated terribly. And honestly, Afong Moy's point of view was heartbreaking and just made me sad to be honest. But yeah, like I said, hopefully there's just a better future in Annabelle's time, 2086. Hopefully, time for women is it's a better time. If it's a better time. Um, And question 9, Greta Moy designs a dating app called Siren that is a female led and meant to be empowering to women. Unfortunately, it is ultimately taken down by the actions of a man. That's right, Carter. What did you think about what did I think about the decisions made by Greta in meeting with Carter? How did he manipulate the situation? Yeah, you could tell he really manipulated her, and I feel like he knew there was cameras there. I feel like he knew, or he set the camera up so he could use her. And I don't know if Greta lost the company or not. I don't actually know, or like I said, I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of things. Um, yeah, oof, it's just so tough. I think she ultimately fought back. Uh it's hard. I actually don't know how to feel about this question. What did you think about the decision made? Okay, I feel like that was first off, that was really weird to say that. What did you think about the decision made by Greta in meeting with Carter? I feel like she didn't know. How could she? She thought, I mean, she knew that Carter was bad, so maybe she was just being wary, but I feel like if people didn't realize, and we'd never see what happens, but or I don't think we did, but if people don't realize that that kiss that basically shows the world it was taken and posted on news, basically, if people don't realize it's forced and like he came on to her, it's hard. And I feel like people are obviously women are dealing with that in the real world even now, and most likely honestly even the future. Yeah, it's just I think it was a bad decision, but it was also a good decision because she had to fight for Siren, and she had to meet with Carter. Obviously, for the book, for the development, I guess. But obviously she didn't know what Carter would do, so that was also the bad decision. So good because she had to fight for her company. Bad because Carter ended up hurting her in another way that she didn't realize. I'm sorry, I feel like my answers are everywhere. um Question 10, I'm probably not going to answer because it talks about how. Okay, I'll read the question. This book takes a peek at the year 2086 with high speed trains and driverless cars. What are some advancements you hope to see in the next 20 years? What do you hope future generations might get to see? I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. I'm not very creative when it comes to sci-fi related things or even future planning, what kind of technology that would happen in 20 years, honestly. So I'm going to skip that, but I think it's a really interesting question. I feel like there's still going to be some things that are still very modern, like our time. Of course. So I don't know how to answer that question. I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments. What are your thoughts? What are advancements you guys would like to see? Question 11, or yeah, Dorothy is able to drastically change the lives of her family members and herself through an experimental treatment. Would you take part in an experiment? What might deter you? What would make it enticing? What, if anything, would you change in the lives of your ancestors? Ah, so I don't know, to be honest. I don't understand how it would have changed because in my opinion, what happened happened. You can't go back and change the past. Maybe she could change how the trauma felt on her, but and Annabelle, and how she could treat and help aid Annabelle away from that trauma and make it more peaceful. But to me, you can't change past trauma. It simply is there, and I don't think I would do an experiment. Um, Maybe I would. Ugh, this is hard. I don't think I would do an experiment. It's just I'm not the type of person who would do an experiment like that. Um, but I think it's really brave that Dorothy did, especially to help Annabelle. Step away from that familial trauma that her whole family had to deal with. Um, yeah. So I don't know how to answer that. I probably wouldn't. What would make it enticing? I don't know. I just don't think I would ever do it. I think that I guess something similar with Dorothy, helping reduce trauma could be good. Um, and yeah, and 12, last question. Discuss your reaction to the ending. Was it a satisfying ending? I feel like a big part of why I gave it 3 stars was because this book didn't leave me very satisfied. And I mentioned this very early and a few times in this video, this live stream video. I guess for you it would be a video. I just wish there was more of the characters. And was it a satisfying ending? I guess we saw Annabelle, be the woman she was in the future in 2086. How um I guess I don't know. We see like how I don't know, it mentions a stepfather, and it mentions, I guess, grief and how maybe it helped. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we don't really mention. I don't know. We don't really see how it perhaps helped, the trauma that she had to go through. We don't know, but I mean, yeah. I don't know. I feel like we didn't see how the epigenetics worked and whether it did work, and I think that's the one thing that, could have been more talked upon. Um, Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, it was satisfying, I guess, when Dorothy was able to help the trauma that everyone in her family felt, the women. And so, yeah, but then I wish we, like I said, saw more of her or even how it helped Annabelle. Um, yeah, that's what I have to say. I don't know. I feel like there's more that I could talk upon. But overall, the story was really good. I gave it 3 stars, and I think I would definitely recommend it to viewers for you guys to read. It was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it because it was something very different. It talks about magic realism, going into the past, fixing past trauma, helping reduce the pain. And I think that people would want to reduce pain. Um, And so I think that was just a really prominent story. And I guess we can see how Annabelle became happy at the end. But like I said, I really wish I could see more of Annabelle. In 2086, it mentioned that she was 40 years old. Love to have seen more of her. Because I think in 2040 she was like 7 or 8, or maybe younger, five. So yeah, so that means 43 years have passed, right? 2040 what? Sorry, everybody. 20. That's Apple May. Let me go to Dorothy. 2045 and 2080 something. 86. 41. Sorry. I think 41. Oh my god. My math skills are clearly showing in terribleness. Yeah, I like I said, would have loved to see more of Annabelle. I think it was nice to see her point of view and how she became a poet, which was really interesting, kind of like her mom. And I would have liked that. Um, yeah, overall, really cute story, and I really enjoyed it. Um, I also just searched up Afong Moy, or before this, I searched up Afong Moy. I don't know. We don't. Do we see a lot of her? I don't think it mentions whether or not she had children, right? I'm looking at Wikipedia. Sorry for the silence. I'm searching up on Wikipedia. Yeah, it does not say that she continued her legacy or not. Maybe she did. Hard to say. But yeah, I think it's really interesting how Jamie Ford in general just gave her a satisfying ending. It's not satisfying. Her ending was sad. She made me sad, Afong Moy, and I think her story really did make me sad. And I was like, okay, but it really did. It made me so sad, and if it made me feel for her, Afong Moy, and from her point of view, we leave off with her being pregnant with a child, which I think may have been a boy. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I would have loved to see. Okay. Well, yeah, let me continue searching up Afong Moy. She's interesting. I think it would be very nice to read about her and whether or not maybe she did a legacy. Yeah, just Very, very interesting. Yeah, anyway, I really do enjoy this. I hope you guys enjoy this, by the way. And talking about the many daughters of Afong Moy, I should mention in past videos I said Afong Mei because I apparently don't know how to differentiate an O and an A. So I really am sorry if you've been watching my other videos and I said Afong Mei. I am sorry. Now that I have been saying Afong Moy for many times, it actually makes sense and sounds better as Afong Moy. I don't know how I suddenly read Afong Moy as Afong Mei in past videos, and honestly, writing it, I need to read the words better. But thank you guys so much for coming here to this discussion. I had a lot of fun. Gave it 3 stars. I do recommend reading this. It was fun and interesting, heartbreaking all at once. There's so many emotions that I feel you go through when reading this book. And yeah, I enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoy this too. And the discussion questions are linked down below for you guys in the description. So if you guys want to check out the description, check out the link, do your own research on Afong Moy. I had a fun time seeing how she was an actual woman. She was the actual first Chinese woman in the States. So it was really interesting, and how Jamie Ford kind of gave her a very satisfying an ending, to her story, and I thought that was nice. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here and talking about the Many Daughters of Afong Moy by Jamie Ford with me. Like I said, do continue the discussion down below in the comments, and I would love to talk to you guys more about it. So I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.